Coming back to you once again, it's your friends from the TA report. Mags here with GP and JFDI. What's up, gentlemen? How are we this evening?
We're doing
We
well.
are
I mean,
bored still, but good.
the first day of NFL free agency, and I guess some people needed some money today because the market fell about 1/3%. So there's some sales going on just a little bit there. GP, you ask a very pointed question right before we threw this puppy in drive. You ask, well, I'll let you ask it. Go ahead, ask your question that you asked right before we turned on here.
So the question I asked was, anyone else? We talked about lockout rally back in November, right? And anyone else think it's gonna extend for the rest of the year with you're gonna have volatile moments where you'll get opportunities to get your 5, maybe 10% some stocks. At least the winners. And I don't know if the market is gonna pull back in any kind of capacity that's meaningful, right? It just, yeah, that's my as I go through charts, that's my underlying kind of thought process. And we've obviously been here before where that underlying thought process is sitting, and then the market just takes a massive dump. But
Only up from here.
it's not that, but I think it's stair stepping higher, right? Versus only up from here.
I mean,
Like,
if
we could ride the 20-day up for the rest of the year, would that shock anyone? I guess is the question.
It wouldn't shock me. I guess. Well, I was gonna say it wouldn't shock me, but it would definitely catch me a little bit off guard, I think. So perhaps maybe that answers your question. I mean, that's what we end up doing. But I'm hoping that we don't. I shouldn't say hoping. If we go into a period kind of like that June through October, November-ish, I think that would be incredibly healthy. But that was like
that was incredibly unhealthy
6-month consolidation period.
Dude,
I'm saying right now, I think it would be incredibly healthy. But the thing is, like Apple, Google, like some of the bigger names have already really started to pull in. Cybersecurity has already like look at like ZS Crowd and what was the other one? Palo Alto. I mean, those are already coming into their 200-day. We're just starting to see the SMH. I think that Friday was a major warning shot. It was at the same time, it was a massive high volume bar too. So I subscribe to the belief that high volume pivots love to get retested. So I ultimately think I don't think the SMH is done by any means. Which I would somewhat argue that if we do get a pause, it's going to be short and violent versus like what we saw last year, where we went sideways for.
Nick, are you
6
saying
months.
across the board or the Qs?
I'm not sure yet.
I mean, all of them can happen. I just
for sure.
We talk a lot about time frame, right? And GP, I think to answer your question, excuse me, would be for me to cough.
Sorry, while you catch your breath, just let me say one thing. I do not want July to October, dude. Sure. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but the dispersion trade that happened in that small correction was brutal.
Brutal. Yeah.
Right? Like in the names, like maybe NVIDIA held up, maybe some names held up, but the dispersion trade that was happening underneath in names like Roku, in names like Shopify, AMD, I believe was also part of that, was just straight brutal, right? Like you were down 30-40% in some of these names. And so that to me isn't healthy either, right? You have a market correction, stocks correct 10 to 20% underneath. Okay, cool. But some of these names were down 50-60% in a matter of 3 months.
All right, now that I've caught my breath,
Sure.
pardon me, excuse me, and thank you for having me back to the show. I think one, we have to talk about time frame, right? If we're talking about forever, yes, the market's never going to go down. It's always going to go higher, even though there will be little bumps along the way. If we're talking about over the next 9 to 12 months, we'd be foolish not to think there would not be a 5 to 10% pullback in whichever index you want to mark down, whether it's the IWM, whether it's the Qs, whether it's SPY. Individual names, we all know that they can do whatever they want to do while the underlying market continues to continue its trend. So I think as a whole, it wouldn't be a bad idea to just catch our breath and grind sideways for a little while. I'm always in the camp of, time and price. And
What does that look like to you?
What does sideways look like to me?
Yeah, let's say in the Qs in particular, like where do you ultimately where's the ideal pivot low that it puts in?
I would say somewhere around this 420 level on the Qs.
Cool. Okay.
It can absolutely go down and test this trend line. That's 10%. That would be 400. I mean, I don't want to see a deep pullback. If we get one, we get one, and we work with it then. But I think we can sort of stay above this 20 MA or right around this 20 MA, and float for a little while. So time and price, that's how corrections are made, either time or price. And I think time can sort of pull these moving averages together a little bit.
Yeah. So just looking at the Qs chart, right? While you're talking about that, I was thinking about like the Qs broke out in October, right?
Yep.
Not broke out, reversed their trend, right? It hadn't broken out yet. And finally broke out in November. And then after November CPI, we basically went sideways for all of November, right? Until the first week of December where we broke out again. And then all of December we went sideways, right? And January we came back down to me it's stair stepping off the 20-30 day moving average. Maybe it touches the 50-day moving average. But
and that's roughly a 10% pullback from the highs in July to the low in October on the Qs, at least.
Yeah. But that's so we've been stair stepping and consolidating along the way. It hasn't just been straight up, right? Like to me, yes, we're up and to the right, and it's a strong trend, no doubt.
We're always up and to the right.
Yeah, but what I'm looking at is the things that are underneath that are looking more bullish. Like if you're looking at, I don't know, LQD, right? LQD is pushed higher, the mean reversion, right into the rising 20-week moving average, and is looking to push out of this base, right? 30-year bonds, same
That's a
thing.
good looking chart.
Huh?
That's a good looking chart.
It looks like a lot of charts out there in the market.
Yeah.
Right. So that's my whole point here is these are all setting up, and yes, they can fail. So I'm tomorrow CPI can come in at 6% and this whole thing reverses. So I'm not saying that it's not possible, but based on what I use as my primary way of looking at things, a lot of these look like bases that are about to break out, right? The LQD, the ZBF, which is the 30-year bonds, which means mortgage rates are going to ZB underscore F is what I have. Sorry, just ZB.
ZB?
Yeah.
Bond futures.
right? Same thing, right? So it looks as good as the LQD, HYG, junk bonds, all this stuff, TLT, right? Like, look at this, like that's coiled. TLT, same thing, reject the
I haven't
weekly
looked at the
15.
TLT chart in a while. That holds up pretty strong.
Look at the volumes that's come in at 20 years ago lows, right? Like that's insane support that's come in here. So TLT is one of them. And then if you go on to like some of the more index names, like XLF has spent the last 2 years retesting the 2008 highs, right? And is on just the verge of breaking out. It hasn't even broken out. So to me, do you remember? I think it was the Qs or the SPY in 2013. We finally took out. Was it 2000? Yeah, in 2013, we finally took out the '08 highs. Is it 2013? Do I have my dates right?
You
Yeah.
are correct.
Right. So in 2013, we finally took out the 2008 highs, aka the double top from 1999, 2000 to 2008. We finally took that out. To me, that's when everyone is now whole again, which means that's when the bull market actually started. And then right after that broke out, it basically consolidated 2 years running after that. It broke out and then consolidated till 2016 until the election. And then it really broke out. So XLF is in a similar kind of pattern. It's broken out of 2008 highs. It came back and retested, holding it. Now it's pushing higher. So to me, there's a lot of things that look like this market is going much higher. I hesitate to say it because obviously we're in an insanely strong uptrend, but if I had to actually put money down and bet, right, like a DraftKings bet and say we're not going to experience a heavy pullback of 10% this year, I probably at this point, based on these charts, and like I said, tomorrow CPI, some binary event can change it. But based on my thoughts about these charts, they're all just starting. Like you can even go to Shopify. Shopify rejected the 200 weekly moving average and right into the rising 20-week moving average, right? 21-week moving average, whatever you're using, and it's holding it, right? If you go to 21, it's holding perfectly. 20, not so much. So it's all within this area.
Well, I
Square,
can flash a 21 up there for you.
yeah,
I can do that.
sure.
It kind of. I
There
guess
it is.
I'll wait to make that point.
I'm just
Yeah.
let me just finish the thesis, right? This is the charts that I'm looking at. So you have Shopify doing this off rejecting the 200-week moving average, which is rising as well. So is the 21-week moving average, which is also rising here. And then if you take this chart and overlay it on XBI, XBI is just doing what Shop did 4 weeks ago. Tagged the 200-week moving average, is waiting, going sideways, whatever, right above that level, while the 20-week moving average catches up. I would imagine right around 96, 97 is when it starts to catch up as it goes sideways. And this starts to break higher, right? So this is like what I'm looking at. And then you obviously see the clear rotation in the last 2 days of out of NVIDIA, out of all these names that have been running hot into what? Apple, Google, and Tesla. Tesla not as great, but Apple and Google slightly better, right? So to me, this is rotation. And this type of rotation can carry this a lot farther than people think.
I think Google looks awesome, by the way.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
do too.
You saw the chart I posted today, right?
Yeah.
I did. I liked it.
Yeah.
I liked it a lot.
So like, I don't know. This is my thesis. Obviously, a lot of the positions I have are from like the 22, 23 bottom, so I'm not doing anything with them. But even shitty Roblox actually had a day today. Like this thing hasn't moved in
Have a day, Roblox. Have a day.
right? It's already
And
taken.
this is the pattern. We keep seeing this formation everywhere, whether
Yeah.
you want to look at XBI, Roblox, IWM, I don't
But
know,
dude,
even
even Cisco,
ARC.
Cisco,
I mean, just name something and it looks like that.
yeah.
Cisco.
Look at Cisco, 3 weeks tight. We talked about this, right?
We
Broke
did.
through the last 2 weeks highs and is about to break the third week high here, reclaiming the 20-week moving average. It's as crappy as this company's been for 24 years, in terms of innovation and all that stuff. This looks good too. So that's my thesis. Obviously, you see names like Disney. You see what Oracle did today? Oracle just cleared all-time highs on earnings.
You know I don't watch Oracle. Oracle's not on my watch list.
Yeah. But into the 20-week moving average, right here on the week,
Yeah.
it pulled back into the 20-week moving average and bang, straight through all-time highs on earnings.
130. Bow.
Yep. Anyway, sorry. I'll stop my mini rant, but there's a lot of things that look great underneath. So if these start to behave better and they're rotating through the mega caps to kind of, right? Like I would have expected when NVIDIA died, Google, Apple, and Tesla to die with it more, right? But it didn't. They just rotated into those names.
Speaking of NVIDIA, if you pull up the JP Morgan daily chart, I was trying to find a chart of what I would like to see happen in NVIDIA in particular. And it's pretty much identical to JP Morgan. Was that back in January? If you see that big engulfer on January 12th,
Yep.
and then it kind of pulled in, held up, and then kind of it came right back up to test that kind of high volume, and it's pretty much identical as to what I'm thinking in terms of like NVIDIA and the SMH. Just I just wanted to throw that out there quick. I wasn't looking at JP Morgan, but when you talked about the XLF, I just muscle memory typed in JP Morgan.
There you go.
So
well, the SMH continues to go, right? And I plotted this last week when we talked. I still think this is a possibility. And this comes into my sideways thesis, right? All this is this consolidation that happened here. And that these are ghost candles. That doesn't mean that that's going to happen. But I could see something like that. And what do you know? It comes awfully close to that trend line. So this is not my prediction. This is just, hey, I wonder what consolidation would look like. And that's kind of what it would look like. And if we had to wait till August to start moving higher, crazier things have happened. I mean, we move. Is it like if this were to hold true, right? We move higher for a few more weeks before moving down and then back up, and then this is what you would get theoretically.
Yeah. And Tim on the chat says even XLU is getting bids. But that's the thing, right? If you look at XLU, when it double bottomed after a massive correction in 2009, 2010, it literally was the beginning of this bull market. So if XLU starts participating, it's just more fuel to the fire. It's just like that is, yeah, it's a good sign, right? And so I don't know if you guys are watching Pfizer, but Pfizer is putting in.
I have a Moderna position right now.
Pfizer for me is long term. When I picked it up, it was like 6.4% dividend, and I'm not looking at it or touching it in probably 10 years, right? And I'm just going to hold it here.
It's just now starting.
Starting
to bounce.
It's starting to bounce.
You're not too late.
You're not too late here. You're going to get a mean reversion, and then a bunch of stuff will come out, so it can come back down. And then I think this looks like Disney when it bottomed.
Yeah, not too
back.
late.
Yeah. So names that have been destroyed, except for PayPal. PayPal is the only one that will get no love ever.
I've been keeping an eye on Moderna too, Nick. I think it's been promising, and once it clears this pivot of 120, I think it looks really good after that. I mean, it looks good now, but I think once it clears 120, it looks really good.
And look at that. Even Moderna has the same pattern.
Yeah.
Big reversion right into the, what is that, 200 week or 50 week? And
50
then
week.
pull back to the rising 20 week, effed around there, and is now clearing it again. Like that's just ammo. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm too excited, but
I'm just starting to kind of like delve more into the altcoin ordeal.
Hey now.
But I think the rest of the year I could, like, you talking about the XLF going to like Square. I don't know if you follow Four, FOUR. I think a lot of I think that's kind of the space to really pay attention to, is pretty much like all things like finance and online.
FinTech?
Yeah, totally.
have you seen Dave?
Yeah, dude, you mention that a while, or was it last
Last
week?
week.
I tweeted you. I was like, dude, you see that thing ripping?
It's just so like what did this, we've been talking about this for the better part of the last year, if not longer. Companies need to focus on profitability in this new monetary environment. What caused the rip? They went profitable. They're a low floater, so it's going to have wide bar ranges for the most part, right? But this is a company that focused on profitability, got there, and got rewarded for it, right? So, like, note to Roku, note to all these companies that are still unprofitable, just show profit and your stock will do better. Morale will lift. But anyway, so even fintech is starting to recover in a meaningful way, right? It's just another example. Four looks great. That high volume week, what is that? Earnings?
This is going to break out. Square block.
Oh, no doubt.
It's going to break out.
Yeah.
GP still shitting on PayPal
Because they're still selling it.
I mean,
I think right now Square is probably the best stage one looking base that I see. Especially on the weekly, from the monthly, the weekly chart I love more than anything, but I like the weekly and the daily. Like your risk, like it is so easy to. I just like charts where it's really easy to define risk and easy to say like, okay, I'm fucking wrong here if it goes the opposite direction. And like, I don't know. I don't think there's a better chart out there right now than Square.
well, where would you put your stop right here, Nick?
Probably in the gap underneath the 20-day. So probably 72 and a quarter. And then if I wanted to be really generous, probably 60.
There's no reason for that. That's
no, I don't.
yeah.
I don't.
I mean, like that's a wide stop, right? I would just use the weekly 9, which it reclaimed last week. It's around 78.
Yeah.
It gives you a couple bucks down.
Either way, you're risking 10, 15 points to make well over 100 if this thing goes stage 2.
Yeah, I was gonna say I would probably use just under the weekly.
I'm just saying, like, yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. So for me, like Nick, I know we all trade differently. So for me, I would, if you're not already in it, then if it pulls back to the 9, I would buy it, or I would buy the breakout above 83.30. I wouldn't buy it here because it's just going to faff around. And if it stays like this for the next like 4 weeks, what's most likely going to happen is you're going to get frustrated with the trade, get out, and then it's going to rip higher. And you're going to be like, oh, see, this is the market. It always does this without me. Right. So,
well, Randy asked on Stock Twits the other night about using ATR as a way to like mechanically set stops. And kind of here's a perfect example. Like, let's just say you want to be involved in Square. you're kind of lazy. If you look at the weekly ATR, it's sitting at 7.5 points. So right there, let's just say you wanted to throw a starter on right now just to make sure that it's on your radar. Size risk to give it 15 points and just that's kind of, I don't know. I know Randy's in the chat. That's the only reason I'm bringing that up is just to say
Randy has entered the chat.
Yeah. Like using the weekly ATR, it basically forces you to take extremely small positions to the point where initially you really shouldn't even give a shit if you get stopped out. Like that's almost how small your position should be.
But I like to go full port.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Anyways, I just that's the only reason I brought it up. I knew Randy was in there.
Yeah, no, Square looks great, but there's a lot, right? It's not just Square. There's lots of names that are getting breathers and other names looking like they're looking pretty good. The one name that doesn't look great to me, and I have looked at it before and it punched me in the face, which is Pan W.
Palo Alto. Are you betting against Nancy?
I'm not doing anything here, but it's been rejecting the 9-day moving average pretty much the whole way after the bounce, right? It's not looking good. So to me, because it's strong and it's a heavy name that people want to be long, I'm not even screwing around with it. But to me, if this breaks that candle, that massive candle down rejection off the 9-day low, which is 276.81, it has the potential to go back and retest that bottom. And if it breaks that, then I think we get to the levels I would like to get, which is around 225, 230.
Here's a hot take for you. It's going to 500.
Probably. Like you can't mess with the strong trends, right?
Nancy Pelosi does not lose.
Stan Weinstein inspired traders are definitely buying here versus that 30 and 40 week.
Yeah.
But
the other name that doesn't look great, and maybe today's the final shakeout of this move, is our dear friend Boeing.
Oh.
And you almost shorted it, GP.
I know. Which is around like 205, right? So but this pattern looks exactly the same as the head and shoulders pattern from 2018 to 2020. Right? That final kind of spring up and then massive reversal candle down. You see it?
I got to get back to 2018 to 2020.
Right there. Yeah. You see that big spike up there?
Yeah.
And the massive reversal candle down and then kind of teetering sideways for a while. And then obviously COVID hit and then all hell broke loose. So this is looking very similar to me here. Kind of have that final move up higher, trying to break out of this range, monster reversal and down. And we're going to probably teeter around here, up and down, up and down, up and down. And then we eventually break is what I think. But yeah.
So it took 60 bars to get the down here, and it took 52 to get there. And this is another 48 bars. So we got about my math, subtract the 1, carry the 5, divide by 4. We got about 40 more weeks if the patterns hold.
No, but this distribution's slightly smaller than that one, it looks like. Right?
Yeah, so from here to here was 60 some weeks. From here to here was 52 weeks.
Okay.
So that's what I'm saying. If the pattern holds, this was about 48 weeks. We probably have about 40 weeks here, which would be September 24.
Yeah.
October of this year. Around election time of this year.
Right around election time, yep.
There you go.
So yeah, this one you know, if you take this name, which is destroyed by COVID, if you think it's just COVID, sure, but it was COVID was the catalyst that was already happening to the distribution management, and you compare it to other travel names. Look at what Royal. These are all names that had to do heavy dilution, right, to stay afloat. And so look at Royal Caribbean's
Even the
RCL.
RSI is scary similar.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, which one did you say, GP?
Royal Caribbean RCL. Right? So very similar looking patterns, but management's not a complete turd. And look what it's doing, right? It's approaching all-time highs, and we'll probably take some time to break out here, but this is the difference between those two charts. Both heavily decimated by COVID and dilution. And it's whether management steps up and shows that they're capable of turning the ship, no pun intended, or not.
Tim has entered the chat and he asked, where is a good dark pool site to monitor that's free? I don't check on dark pools, Tim, GP, Nick,
Nope.
do you guys?
There
Sorry,
used to be a Twitter account way back when that I used to follow, but I
we are
don't
no help
remember
on
it.
that one, Tim. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, all that stuff is noise, in my opinion, but
That's probably true for sure.
especially
I
the
do like
stuff
to
that
look at option flow, but it doesn't dictate my trading.
no, and a lot of it's noise as well, right?
A lot of
Like
it's fuckery, yeah, for sure.
right there, I think Joe Kunkel, a guy I follow on Twitter, is great about a lot of these option stuff. I think he's, from what I've seen, one of the best ways to analyze this. And even last week, he flagged a trade, which was last week's ARM 190 calls. And you saw what ARM did last week, right? Like literally down since those calls went in. So not everyone's perfect. He's one of the better ones. Because you have to essentially decipher what they're trying to do, right? And you're guessing what these people are doing. But he's one of the better ones at reading it. So I think it's all noise, unless it's Netflix, then it's all true.
Hey, I was gonna ask you about the Zoom chart actually. In terms of like accumulation versus distribution, how do you look at that? Like I like the look of the chart, kind of the stage one base. But if you're looking on the daily, like tons of huge, massive sell spikes. And I was wondering if you thought that that would be.
So for me, the way I look at these charts, right, is like I want to see accumulation in the base. If you don't see accumulation, and I identify those as monster volume green
Green
weekly
bars?
candles, right? And
Sure.
they don't have to be clustered. It can be one. It could just be earnings candles, right? Every time.
Yeah.
But I want to be able to see that. And when I don't see it, this doesn't fall in my world of trading because it doesn't satisfy my criteria. But the other side of that conversation is Zoom is essentially just run out of sellers, right? Since there's
Sure.
so many red candles that in the absence of selling, there's two things that will happen, which is flat, which is pretty much what Zoom has been for 2 years now, right?
Yeah. Yep.
It hasn't even really broken out of that 60, 70 range and 58 at the bottom level. So it's either flat or it's pushing a little bit higher here and there. So to me, this just doesn't qualify in my levels when so many other charts are so much better looking
Yeah.
and support my basis and my thesis. This is not worth my time and effort, right?
It popped up on my radar. I kind of toggle back and forth between net change and net percent change, like
Yeah.
intraday as I'm kind of toggling, and it popped up on my percent gainer today. I thought it had a nice looking bar, but
Yeah, it's a nice looking
cares?
bar, but then tomorrow it will lose it, right? Like
for sure, yeah, for sure.
So that's the thing with Zoom. It literally has been in a 60 to 70 range since August 2022, right? Like or sorry.
Since it dropped into 70, it has been in a 70.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to me, if they were accumulating, you'd see moments of where they try to push it higher out of the range. And
It's just failing every time it hits 75.
yeah, and they're like if you I think Wyckoff or whatever it is talks about accumulation, right? Essentially, when it comes to the lows, they start buying, and because they're buying heavy, it's causing the price to rise. So when it gets to a level where they're like, "This is too rich for us, we want it to pull back," they stop buying, which is what usually causes the pullback. But there's none of that here.
Yeah.
So to me, if you're in the trade, good luck. I wish you well. But
No, but I mean, I set my alerts at 75, and I just figured I'd set it and kind of forget it. If it broke above 75, maybe I'd throw something small on. But
I just wanted to see one bar that would just take out this and then completely destroy hope by fading it all the way back. But at least one bar to take it higher, right?
yeah,
Take it towards that 90 range is
yeah,
what I would love to see. But I haven't, so it just doesn't fall in my criteria of setup worthy charts.
sure.
I posed this question earlier, but if you had to buy one stock this week and hold it for the next 52, what would it be and why? GP, you gave me an answer. You want to share what it was?
For solar.
Oh, all right. I'm into that.
To me, this is a more of a expand your time frames, look yeah, and go further out, right? This had a monster move while everything else was dying in 2022, right? 2023, this went from 60 to 240. And while everything else has been rip roaring, First Solar has been pulling in, and it's in the supply zone. Yep, and it's supply zone, and it's wicking off that supply zone from where it broke out. So to me, in terms of when you ask me 12 months hold time, where do I feel comfortable? I feel comfortable here because it's got a monster base where it continues to wick from. So whether it could just be sideways for another 12 months. I'm not saying it won't be, but what I'm saying is I'm comfortable holding it for 12 months. And because
it's going to take out that 50 weekly
yeah,
soon, or I like it a lot less.
you see it in the weekly, right? The sells are not that great. And
yeah, they're not dramatic at all. No.
And the buys are picking up down here a lot, right? If you look at the green volume there,
You've got it up here, but you've got it down for the last year, though.
down on the last year, but the last four big volume bars has been increasing each one.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
You got this action, and then you got that action.
Yeah. So you had the final kind of, if that last big green candle, the daily was the largest volume in like a decade, right? So even though the weekly didn't finish with higher volume, it was a capitulation move higher, and it needed to consolidate. And consolidate on lower volume is exactly what you want to see in charts that you want to be long.
Dubs ask for hyper. Oh, before we get to hyper, Nick, if there was one that you had to buy and hold for the next 52 weeks, you had to buy it this week, what would it be? Putting you on the spot. You weren't prepared.
No, I probably just. I mean, I was gonna say Tesla just because, but I'll probably go with Moderna. Just because I think it's just getting started.
Tesla was the most replied answer.
Was it really?
Today. It was.
Oh,
it was. That doesn't mean that I think Tesla too. I like Tesla. I'm long Tesla, full disclosure. But I wouldn't choose Tesla. I think I want to surprise. Well, I kind of gave it away earlier. I really like the Google chart.
Yeah.
and I could be wrong, but I kind of like it here. They have been more of a laggard of the, what do you want to call it? The Magnificent Seven, Fang, whatever you want to say it, well, however you want to describe them. But I don't know. This could be their year. And if I were to buy one this week and hold it for the next 52, it'd be Google for me.
Google.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, Dubs wanted to know about Hyper. HYPR. Never seen it, never heard of it. HYPR.
Doesn't
$1.22
meet.
stock.
Doesn't meet my.
Yep.
It's thin. It's under the 200-day.
Not
And it's
not my
$1.
type of trade, dude.
What is it?
Health technology. I don't know. Hyper fine. GP, you have any take on this $1.22 stock? GP? Nick?
Yeah.
Nick.
Not. Sorry, I muted it for a second while I was looking at the chart.
Not his thing.
It's got some volume candles, but this looks like a pump and dump.
Yeah, this is not my type of thing. I'd rather go in on some zero DTEs.
Yeah.
But I could be wrong. I don't know anything about it. So sorry, Dubs. Not trying to be a smartass. Just
I popped it into MarketSmith. And the number one stock in the group, or the highest RS, is PLSE.
PLSE.
Yeah, which the weekly I kind of like it. But what sector is it?
Dubs says it is a portable MRI company.
Oh,
Did they reverse split?
oh, same group as ISRG. Interesting.
Let's see. Let's see if there's any splits on the chart.
What was that move from 0.04 cents to $16? Like, I don't know what that was in my chart.
I do not see any splits in the chart. I don't know. Like I've said before, anything can be good for a trade. I don't know enough about them. I try not to buy under $5 stocks. Just a general rule of thumb for me. But yeah, not my thing. Sorry, Dubs.
FDA clear. Yeah, I'm sorry. This is whenever I see the words redefined in a
And it is a SPAC.
in a bio. Yeah, no, thank you.
Yeah, it came in at the cool $10. That should have been the tip off.
Yeah,
That
that was the first question I asked. Is it a SPAC? Because I'll tell you the answer right away.
Dubs, you probably know more about it than I do. From a TA question, I mean, it's not a great setup, but it's not terrible either. I mean, I can put some lines on here for you and kind of draw it like that. So, like there might be a little bit of a pop or a move coming. The Stoke and the RSI are curling up, so that's positive. I don't want to sound like all negative Nancy. I can give you TA on almost anything you asked for. So, I mean, it could be a trade here. I would want to see it hold 117-ish.
It has always potential because it's typically on a day-to-day basis. It trades 1 to 200,000 shares a day, except for this random candle where it had 10 million.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
So if they want to pump it, they can. But to me,
Yeah, they can pump it.
this qualifies in the pump and dump scheme. I hope it's more than that. I don't know anything about it. Chart.
Yeah, if it moved into the 130s, 40s, I would probably be selling on the way up. I don't know. I mean, again, I'm looking at it from if I started here at 122. I don't know how far you are in or if you're in this at all, Dubs. but I would probably be selling any rips. That's just me. So from a TA perspective, it looks okay. Anything can trade, but long term, not my cup of tea. You are very welcome.
And good luck, man, if you're in it.
Yeah, good luck. We always love to see people win. We don't want to cheer on anybody to get a negative result. That's not us. Hari Krishna. Hi, Hari. Long time no see. LNW.
LNW looks good.
Light and Wonder. Yeah, it looks pretty good. It's running a little hot. You might get some consolidation here, but usually when they hit 100, they want to keep going over 100, typically. And I don't think it's ever been 100 before.
Not that I can see.
Nope. So usually when they make it there the first time, they like to be up there. That's just a general rule of thumb. And the other one was IGT. No idea what that is. International Game Technology. I don't like it as much. I like that it gapped up off. Well, no, not really.
Looks like it's rolling over. It's breaking
Yeah,
below the 20-month moving average as well.
Fighting moving averages is never good. You want moving averages to be support and not fight them.
So it's sideways for sure, but this doesn't look great technically. You have the MACD that's crossed over, lower RSIs on the month. This is all monthly time frames.
Randy likes Live Nation. You've mentioned that before, Randy. Yeah, Live Nation's been good to you. And Sphere. I think Randy brought up Sphere before.
Oh, that looks, yeah, that does look good.
What is this? PHR. GP's not gonna like it because it's an IPO.
Yeah. Right. Look at IPO favorite GFS.
GFS.
I was gonna say Duzio's EDR is looking pretty good there too, Randy. I think that might fall in line with your
Endeavor.
LYB. Yeah.
That's a big old base. Wow. Whoever bought the $18 is living pretty good right now.
You know what looks fantastic as well?
Tell me.
ABBV.
APBD?
No, BBB.
BBD?
Yeah.
A
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks.
AbbVie.
Yeah.
That's just going up. That just keeps going.
Yeah.
Might go sideways a little more and then back up.
Interesting. I just saw like this chart I was watching. It looked like it was about to break down and it had a monster reversal candle on the week.
ARLP.
Look at Altria Group, MO.
Mo, dirty Mo.
Look at that. Engulf like 5, 7, 8 weeks. That might have finally bottomed.
That's a pretty big move.
That's huge for this
mover. Big divvy.
Yeah, I think it's like a 9.5% dividend or something like that. When it was at 40, might be a little bit less now.
How are they going to make? I don't. I mean, of course, people still smoke, but
dude, what brand? Sorry,
Altria, the old Philip Morris.
No, but they own those Zyn pouches as well, I think now.
God, those things, dude. Between people, these kids vaping, holy shit! I don't even. If every tobacco company was selling these stupid ass vape pens, oh my god, unbelievable. Sorry.
Interesting.
Which one?
No, I was just saying interesting about the vaping.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's blowing my mind. I mean, my kids are talking about kids vaping in class. Like,
I see a lot more people vaping here in Kentucky than I did in Georgia for some reason. I figure, well, not that I would expect more, but I see a lot more.
kind of blows my mind.
You know what looks good? Not in any short time frame. I was looking at this all weekend. But I'm thinking years, like not like accumulate now, be rewarded like 5 years from now. Rig,
Transocean
Well, God, I haven't pulled that up in a while.
look at the monthly.
still hanging out at $5.
Look at the accumulation in this chart, and the consolidation is obviously it's wide ranges, but it's on much lower volume. So, and some of the long-term moving averages are getting tested here, right? That we're getting rejected. How many times did it reject that orange moving average? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I see on that chart.
The 50.
Yeah.
So it rejected 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We'll call that 7.
And so now
That's a
we've
double.
reclaimed and we're looking at potentially it turning up, so becoming support here. So this could be one of
Good
those
look.
names.
Yeah, it's a good look. Very clearly defined stop.
Yep. And this is one
Loses
of
the monthly 50. You got to go.
yeah. I would say that's your stop. But to me, based on accumulation and stuff, um, try to keep a little bit wider stop under the 50. It may cross under that 50 month on a daily, but then reverse the next
Right.
day weekly.
Yeah.
So,
Above on a, I should clarify, above on a 50 close
yeah. So like
or
this
monthly close of the 50.
with this accumulation, I think the move here is in close to the 40s, right? So you're talking about a 7 or 8x from here. I'm not saying in 1 year, I'm saying many years. And that kind of lines up with what I talked about earlier this year, which is oil hasn't even started its move higher yet.
I mean, even if it reaches the teens, I mean, you're 3x there.
Yeah. But it's hard to hold names, right? Like oil, energy
It
names
is.
aren't like the growth names. So, but this all looks like it's preparing accumulation for a later dated higher move.
I mean, sometimes you just got to sit back and let them cook, right, Nick?
Yep.
It can be hard, but being bored is not a reason to get out.
Nah.
Anyway, I thought I'd put this on your radar in terms of potential long-term holders. I think it actually pays a dividend too now.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it is, but they do.
How you feeling about the like the or do you want to switch gears to like crypto?
Yeah,
Bitcoin,
let's do
and
it.
now that we're making all-time highs in the Bitcoin space. Any crypto names that you're on your radar?
Dot looks amazing. And not just because I'm very long Dot, but you guys remember a couple months ago we were talking about Link, or maybe 2 months ago, maybe we're talking about Link, Chain Link.
Yeah.
Just interestingly enough, like if you compare Link to Dot's outperforming. And that's a chart that I like to see. And I still like Link. This is not a knock on Link at all. I still think Link is a very good altcoin to be in. But even after this move from Link, Dot is still has more relative strength. So I really like Dot. Ethereum above 4,000, it's going to break all-time highs. That is a matter of when, not if. I'm still waiting for Bitcoin dominance to pop up here closer to 56, 57. We may not get it because we're kind of basing out here. And the reason why I say that, Nick,
Yeah.
is once we get to the sort of that 57 point, then money should really be flowing into crypto, specifically Bitcoin, if it's that much dominant over the rest of the caps. So when that happens, then just money starts flowing. And the way money flows into crypto, it goes into Bitcoin first, and then Ethereum as the next major alt, and then all the other alts. So altcoin season is soon. I don't think it's here yet, but it's soon. So there are a few other altcoin names that I really like. If you want me to go through a couple of them, I can.
I'll say I've been buying a bunch of shit too.
But I really
I don't-
like Dot. Dot has been a very strong conviction of mine for quite a while. The graph has been great. Bags of Brothers have been in this one for a while. Really like the graph. Solana has been really good too. Solana is actually outperforming Ethereum. So if I pull up a relative chart between Solana and Ethereum, Solana is outperforming Ethereum. And Uniswap has been really good. So that's a short list of names. I mean, I like Aave, I like Maker, but those are $200 or $130 a pop.
What do you think of
2,600 for Maker.
what do you think of AVAX and ICP?
Avalanche is good.
Yeah,
Avalanche
I
is
just like
good.
I just like the charts.
I also like XLM.
You've brought Stellar Lumens up before.
Yeah, well, it goes along the lines of XLF going higher.
Oh
This
yeah.
is
So that's a very much similar chart. Like that's a earlier stage dot or link. They're pretty similar. The thing about all the alts is when it's altcoin season, they're all going to run, and it's hard to speculate which ones are going to run the most. So
Geo Bowden.
if you put a little bit in a few of them, you're going to catch some moves. At least that's the way I do it. I should say I'm going to put a little bit in several altcoins, and two or three of them are not going to perform as good as one or two of them. They're still going to perform, but they're not going to be whatever the big percentages is
Sure.
the few are.
So
But
the question to you is where, so I think Bitcoin is going to a little bit over 200,000.
yeah,
Oh, all right. I was fond of
And
that.
so like I remember talking about this before, and Bitcoin got to 20,000 back in 2019. Do you guys remember that, obviously?
yep.
Right? And then it broke out really hard after it tagged 20,000 for about 3 or 4 weeks. And it went from 20,000 to 64,000, which was exactly the 261 extension. And so if the same type of movement happens here, the 261 on Bitcoin from all-time highs is 203,000. Where do you guys think it's going to go?
I think it's definitely going over 100. The thing that's got me most puzzled about this run, and I'm going to go to the monthly, is normally we see this action right here during the halvening, and we're about a month, 40 days out from the next halvening, I think. This is kind of the action we typically see. We're seeing a huge run up before this action happens. And that's the same action that happened here during this halvening cycle. So it's from that respect, we're a little early on the run. Now, does that mean it's going to run even harder once Bitcoin halves? I don't know, because it's been so precise in the past. It's hard for me to say what it does. I mean, once Bitcoin halves, we could do a month or a few weeks sideways before it goes again. But this action is not the action we would expect to see before taking off from the halvening. So I don't know, GP. Like long term, yeah, I think Bitcoin can get to 200,000. I don't think that's a problem. But what it's going to do in the next 3 months is kind of got me at a little bit of a questioning what might happen. So I don't know. If I just draw that trend line from the top to the previous tops, I mean, we could get up to 90,000, right? And then sort of hit our ceiling once it halves and then go higher. I really don't know.
I think the trend is quite strong, so suggests that the breakout is going to be bigger, which is why I'm basing it on the 2020 kind of move. That trend was pretty strong. So when it got to 20,000, it consolidated for a few weeks and then just took it out. We're not even consolidating here, right? So
yeah,
that's why I think we can potentially move there pretty quickly. For what in 2020, how long did it take to hit 64,000 off the 20,000? So about 4 months, 5 months. It broke it in December 2020 and tagged all-time high-ish in April. So about 4 months. And this trend seems stronger, so
yeah, we'll see. It definitely seems stronger. We'll see. I'm not disagreeing with you. I timing wise, historically, we're just a little early, and that's kind of got me scratching my head a little bit. I'm not mad about the price action, but
what about the miners? Like, why? Any idea why they're performing the way that they are? Like, especially after today. I mean, they got sold up.
They did.
What's left to mine for Bitcoin? If they're halvening, what's left to mine?
No, I don't know.
Well, you can still mine Ethereum.
Yeah, but I think some of these names are Bitcoin only, you know?
Yeah.
I'm just asking the question. If they're mining Bitcoin and Bitcoin is a limited supply, what's left to mine? Like, how do they continue to make money outside of just holding the Bitcoin they've mined and it goes higher?
It's a great question.
It's a question I'm asking. I don't know.
It's a great question. I don't have that answer. I don't play in the minors usually, so I don't know their business enough. Guys, we're at an hour, and I got to jump. But
cool.
Great convo as usual, and thanks to everybody for hopping on and all the questions. Really, really appreciate that. We're not going to do a midweek podcast this week, but I kind of like those. We might do another one at some point in the near future. But thanks, GP. Thanks, Nick.